By the head coach of the Okanagan Sun, Travis Miller, one of the top coaches in the league. So before you get to business, there's a tragic event that happened to Coach Miller after an injury that he's been recovering from. So if you could just let everyone know how that's been going.
Yeah, it was not a great experience, but I'm doing okay now. I'm on the mend. I started walking actually yesterday with crutches, so it was my first time in 9 weeks that I've had the opportunity to use both my legs, which has been great.
Yeah, that's great to hear because I think it kind of shook the whole league once we found out. But then seeing your statement after that, you're still saying Sun win and making sure that recruits knew it kind of just shown how great of an ambassador you are for the league and how much you care. So we're wishing you a speedy recovery, and we're all glad to hear that, everyone
Yeah,
involved.
appreciate that.
So now getting to the interview part. So you've had so much success as a head coach in such a short amount of time. You've won a national championship your rookie year. You went back to another last year. You've sent two players like straight from your program to the CFL already, with a potential third one on the way soon. So just talk a bit about that. How have you had so much success in such a relatively short period?
The biggest thing for me is that it's not an individual thing. We have such a great board of directors. Our president and all of our executive are incredible in terms of the support that they give not only me but our program. One of the things that sets us apart is the development aspect, and we have a bunch of coaches on our staff that have been here for 15 to 20 years in some cases, and the expectation level and the what we call the unattainable level of success that we want everybody to get to individually, translates into players moving on to U Sport. I mean, and pro obviously too. So we've had, as of right now, we've had 36 and two more guys just signed today. So 38 players in the last 3 seasons have gone on to U Sport, two players directly to the pros. And then we've had two players go down to the States as well too. So, when you look at the success that we measure our success based off of how our players are doing. And so, we feel that we're very successful based off of the fact that we have so many guys developing, coming here and moving on to the next level. And it kind of perpetuates itself. The more players you have moving on to the next level, the more good players that want to come here and play for us. So, in terms of our success, it's just been based off of the group effect. And, that's everybody from like I said, our board of directors and our coaches, all the way down through our players, our sponsors, and everybody else who plays a big part in the development of our players. So it's not definitely not a one person thing, and it's definitely an organizational, achievement for us.
Yeah, 100%. The Sun have been kind of like, especially the past few years, the standard of the BC conference, right? And you guys are continuing to send so many guys to U Sports. I should check and see who the leaders are the past few years because I'd imagine you guys are up there. So, talking about last season, you guys had a quite the season, perfect in BC conference play. That was despite a lot of tough battles, really close games that I attributed to coaching because that's what I think. But the postseason was where there's a lot to talk about. So you guys went into Regina, beat them again for the second time in 3 years, which was pretty difficult task because the storyline's always kind of been that the BC is like the pretty boys and they play up-tempo offense and they can't compete with the Prairie physicality, right? And you've done that now twice in the past 3 years. Like the Thunder, they got a great O-line, two great running backs, a great fullback. How are you able to coach up the guys and really get ready for, I guess, seemingly like a different matchup that you guys haven't seen before?
I think first of all, I'm from Alberta originally. I spent majority of my life in northern Alberta, Edmonton, and Grand Prairie, so I have a pretty good understanding of what Prairie Conference football is about and what it takes to win. And the reality is, if you don't have a good line and running backs and stuff like that can play in cold weather and play at different times, late in the season, you're not going to be successful. And obviously, last season in particular, we had probably the best running back in the country, and if not one of the top players in CJFL history on our team. So, I think that plays a big part of it. And going into it, it was a little bit easier, I think, for us. There wasn't a lot of pressure on us coming into that game. Regina had just beat Saskatoon, and I think a lot of the pressure was on them hosting us again. And man, Scott McCauley has that team flying. They're such a good team. Every time we've played them, it's been such close games, right? It was 2 points in the national championship a few years ago, and then in this case it was two touchdowns, but I don't think that's indicative of the score of the or score isn't indicative of the game. That was a real slugfest, and at any point it could have broken open. I mean, Sadiq was flying, and Rylan Likert is an incredible downhill runner. So you couple that with that O line, and truthfully, I think it really came down to just a few missteps that a pick six from them, and I think if that doesn't happen, they score on that drive. Who knows where that game lands, right? So all the credit to Regina for coming up with a phenomenal game plan and always having a good team. And from our standpoint, we'll play whoever is in front of us, whether it's Regina, St. Clair, or anybody else. We enjoy that opportunity. And I think going back to your comment about the BCFC, I think when you look at our league as a whole, some of our tightest games this year really played a big part in the development of our program long term. And if it wasn't for some of the games against guys like Langley or West Shore or Chilliwack and some other teams, I mean, VI played us incredibly well as well too. That Sean's got that team doing really well. So when you look at kind of the dynamic that we have in our league, those close games, the tight games, they really help when you get into the national playoffs, even the playoffs in our conference, but definitely in the national playoffs, it really aligns your focus a little bit more because you've had those battles throughout the season.
Yeah, 100%. Like I I, I think it's kind of like consensus that BC is the most competitive conference, right? Even though you guys went unbeaten, like you had so many one-score games, and you're clearly able to take that into Regina, who they played tight with Saskatoon, but other than that, they kind of not a ton of competition there, but watching both games, the last two games you guys have played Regina, absolutely amazing games, like really selling the CHFL product. So just you guys beat the Thunder and able to advance to the final, and then this one might hurt a bit, but the St. Clair game, just talk a bit about this one because you guys had a ton of pressure going in. Ontario hasn't won since 1999, and they really shocked a lot of people and were able to pull off an upset. So do you think you guys could bounce back and get them next year?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, when you look at that St. Clair team, that's probably one of the best junior football teams across the board that we've seen in a long time, right? Like they at every position they had, superstar players and we knew it going in. If you look at any of the social media stuff or you look at any of the interviews that I did, we weren't taking them lightly. It wasn't like in past years where, maybe sometimes teams had taken the OFC for granted and not put as much effort into, what they thought would happen. We didn't do that. We knew that St. Clair team was going to be very, very good. And obviously there's some missteps on our own side of things, turning the ball over 5 times, 6 times in a game, and you're not going to win those games. And we hadn't done that all year. We hadn't turned the ball over 6 times all year long, let alone let alone having it in the national championship. So, hats off to St. Clair and everything that they've done as a program. I don't think anybody's happy losing a game, let alone a national championship game. So obviously something that we as a team are going to reflect on. But going forward, I mean, the way our focus is with everything that we're doing is just developing for the next season. So as of January 1st, we flipped the script or we flipped the page and we're on to the 2025 season. And I think, just given, who we know is coming back and who we've recruited and everything else, we feel like we could play anybody in the country. So it's exciting. It's going to be a great year. I know the BCFC has definitely improved. You look at what Chilliwack's done on their team and VI, and it's an exciting time. There's obviously some changes in West Shore and Langley, so not sure what we're going to get from those programs. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a battle like it is every year, and it's exciting. Going into 2025.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with what you said. That St. Clair team they were stacked. It was really a battle of the Titans. Like I think those playoff games you guys played in really great. I mean, great for the league because those were great games. So, like you mentioned, coming into this season, like, what do you expect? You guys are losing like you do every year. You lose a bunch of guys, but then you get even more guys. You guys are continuing that run of amazing running backs coming in. I think since you took over as OC, you guys had Malcolm Miller. then Aiden Weiberg, then Leon Noah. Now you're getting another good running back. Talk a bit about him and how you feel about this season.
Yeah, so I mean we've had a run of running backs over the last 4 seasons that I don't remember anybody having that opportunity. We had the 2021 Offensive Player of the Year in Malcolm Miller. We had 2022 we had Javon Garwood, who's now at Regina as well too, and then 23 was Weiberg, and also Noah was in the back half of that year, and obviously 2024 was all Noah. So when you look at those 4 guys or 5 guys in particular, the one thing that stands out is that they're all very coachable. They're great people, but they're also very coachable. So we've been fortunate to have the right people who are also very athletic and good at their positions to really take that position over and dominate. So it's been exciting for us. And as an OC, I'm a run first guy, and that's kind of been the focus on what we've done. So you've seen that in kind of the output of what our teams have done. When it comes to like the recruiting side of things, I mean, getting Jaron Hardesty is an unbelievable, achievement for our program. He's a phenomenal young man. He's already here in Kelowna working out and a part of the program. And I mean, we all saw what he did in 2023, where he was averaging 10 yards a carry. And, he's got an attitude about him that I love. I love the competitive nature that he has. You've obviously been to a couple games or listened to a couple games that I coach. You know that I'm a vocal guy, and whether it's the crowd or my players, I'm pretty adamant about having conversations with people. So the fact that he matches that intensity, and he's very much a competitor in that world, it makes things a lot easier as an OC and as a head coach to know that the guy that's running the ball and who you put a lot of faith in has the same DNA as what you have, and wants to drop the shoulder over running guys over. He'll still run past guys, but he's going to make sure that he does it physically. And I just love the way that he plays, and I'm very excited to see what he does long term.
Yeah, he's going to be an amazing player for the program. Ton of fun to watch. I'm glad he's back in BC. So you got a really good linebacker in Jacob Bond, who many people thought deserved Defensive Player of the Year last year. There's been talks about him potentially joining the Lions. Just talk a bit about him and what a stud he is.
Yeah. I've had the fortunate opportunity to coach Jacob for 4 years, so 21 through 24, going on 25 now. Um, I obviously, Stephen Smith is a phenomenal linebacker, phenomenal player as well too. I obviously am biased and have my own feelings about it, but I think either of those two are deserving of the award. And there's not too many times where a team will take home both awards in the year, so it makes sense. And Stephen had a phenomenal year, and it's exciting to see him sign with the Argonauts and what he's going to do for junior football as an ambassador for our program. So, first and foremost, that's kind of from last season. And going forward, I haven't seen a more motivated human being than Jacob Bond. I mean, as somebody who feels like he's our leader on our team, whether it's on or off the field in the weight room, or just going to sprints or touch football, whatever it is that we're doing, he's the number one guy, and he has really taken on a different level of commitment to the weight room and to physically preparing himself. I wouldn't. I wouldn't doubt it if he isn't playing for us next year, if he's getting that opportunity to play for the Lions, whether it's on special teams or whatever. And, if we're fortunate enough to have him come back to Kelowna and be a part of our program, I fully anticipate that he's going to be the best defensive player in Canada. I think you're about to see a different level from him based off of the frustration and tenacity. Losing the national championship has motivated more people than I've ever seen. After winning the national title, we had a great recruiting class in 23, and or in 2023, but we just didn't have the same motivation level as we did the year before. And this year in particular, I haven't seen so many guys motivated across the board to get back to the level and get another opportunity, whether it's St. Clair or if we're lucky enough to move past that national semifinal game, get into Regina or any of the other PFC teams again, and get that opportunity to play late into the season.
Yeah, for sure. It's really, really an exciting time. They always say the losing the championship, you remember that more than actually winning it. So I know a lot of teams, Saskatoon feels that same way, Regina feels
For
that
sure.
same way. A lot of teams are super hungry just because of how close they were. So moving on from the Sun, you're the offensive coordinator for the Team Canada senior men's team. I know some people know about it. I'm just starting to learn about it, so just talk a bit about it.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal program. So the head coach Jesse Maddox is a close friend of mine and somebody who I've known for 20 plus years through football in Alberta and into BC. We've had the opportunity to coach with each other with the Sun and as we elevated or as I elevated, he also did as well too. So we've had a lot of history with that. He's a great guy, really great recruiter. The senior men's team is a team made up of players that are over that are not eligible to play in the under 20. They're guys that we've all seen the roster. There's a lot of pro players in that group, and it's an exciting opportunity for myself to work with guys who have obviously played at the professional level and have some really great pedigree. I mean, you look at Chris Merchant and Michael O'Connor are legends in themselves as CI or as U Sport quarterbacks. So now to have the opportunity to work with them, at this level is pretty cool. And the team will play in Italy in April, and then we'll go to Worlds in November after our junior football season ends, and have the opportunity to play I think Austria in the first round, and then if that game goes well, then move on to the championship later on in that week. So it's a definite unique experience. I've had a couple of friends that have played on the team, guys like Matt Walters, and I think Jake Thomas played on it years ago as well too. So just guys over the past years who have been a part of it. It's been a pretty cool experience. Then you add in a lot of the coaches that have been around it. It's a great learning experience. So.
Yeah, we'll definitely be following it close. Maybe that could help contribute to maybe a potential Canada-US rivalry that Taylor Lewan mentioned on his podcast when he showed out the
Right.
Okanagan Sun.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
just last thing, why should recruits out of high school or youth sports come play for the Okanagan Sun?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking at any program in Canada, you're going to want to, as a youth sport, as a high school player, you're going to look at what your future is. And I think, to be perfectly honest with you, we're not the right fit for everybody. There's a lot of players that, aren't don't fit the mold of our program, but they fit the mold of other programs. So the biggest thing for players that are looking to come play for the Okanagan Sun is just understanding that the level of competition and the unattainable standard that we've created with our program is paramount in the success of all the people that have come before them over the last 45 years of our team. So if you look at the recent success on the field, I mean, we're 36-3 in the last 3 seasons. We've had 40 plus players move on either to U Sport or to the pros. Those measures of success aren't done by accident. They're done because we have a culture and we have a program that is built on the deliverables of getting players from here to other places. And I think, specifically with the high school players, depending on what your level is and depending on what you need, whether it's academically or athletically to develop, we're a great opportunity for that. We have a college here in Kelowna. We have a university as well too. So you have that ability to kind of tier and move yourself up as you go through. And then for U Sport players, it's really dependent on what it is that they want to do. If they're looking to do a trade and they don't want to go to school anymore, we have a trade school. We have many great trade apprentice opportunities with our program. And then I think the biggest thing, like I said at the very beginning, is just the transparency, but also the development that our program does from the top down. So whether it's our board of directors and the support that we get from them through to our coaching staff and all of our community members, it creates such a different atmosphere and value for players that are looking to utilize our program for 1 to 3 seasons and move on to the next level, which is really where we excel. Those players that are here for 1 to 3 seasons that either bounce back to U Sport or looking to develop before they go to U Sport. However that looks, we're a real good opportunity for those players to come and develop.
All said. So is there anything else you want to touch on before I let you go?
No, appreciate everything you do, man. You're doing a phenomenal job, and I think the value that you bring to not just the CJFL, but football as a whole is definitely something that other players or other places need to look at because you do a phenomenal job highlighting across the country. And if people don't say it, we all appreciate what you do. You do a great job.
Awesome, coach. Thank you so much for the kind words and taking time out of your day to come on.